Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing fine. Today I'll be going through some charity shop CD purchases. These were all £1 or less, and in fact quite a few of them are only 10 pence or 20 pence each. And first up, it's the Smithereens and the album 11, which was put out by Capitol in 1989. It found the Smithereens embracing a more slick, radio-friendly guitar rock sound. The tunes come thick and fast, there's guitar riffs aplenty, and Blue Period is the best ballad that Elvis Costello never wrote. On top of that, the three original members of the Honeys contribute backing vocals on a couple of tracks, and that's the icing on the cake for me. Next up, it's the album Musicology by Prince, and it's extraordinary to think that this was the 28th studio album by Prince. Cinnamon Girl is vintage Prince with some blistering guitar work, and the title track Musicology is a funk track which finds him paying tribute to some of the original funk pioneers. And next up, it's the album The Catamist by Grizzly Bear on the Warp label. And Grizzly Bear are one of the more interesting bands of the 21st century. This album, it's all about the vocals for me. The harmonies are almost celestial at times. The unique combination of instrumentation inevitably makes you think of Pet Sounds. If you imagine prog rock experimentalists with an ear for a naggingly addictive tune, you're getting sort of quite close to their sound. Next up, it's the Moody Blues, In Search of the Lost Chord, and this comes with various bonus tracks. It's put out by the DRAM label. Now this was how progressive rock used to be done in the golden age. There's flourishes of traditional Indian instrumentation, swaves of mellotron and mystical, spiritual lyrics as well. And there's always a tune to lodge in the brain. Key tracks for me on this album are Ride My Seesaw and Voices in the Sky. And next up, it's Super Furry Animals and the album Lovecraft. And this was put out by Sony BMG. Like Robin Hitchcock, the willfully eccentric lyrics are a barrier to mass appeal, but there's a lot to really enjoy about the Super Furry Animals. The 60s and 70s pop influences are reinterpreted through the unique brains of Griff Rhys and the rest of the band. The constant bombardment of sound can get a bit overwhelming at times, similar to, say, Animal Collective and Flaming Lips, but it's the gorgeous harmonies which are the major appeal here for me. Sean O'Hagan of the Beach Boys is responsible for the gorgeous orchestral arrangements on this album. It's the 30th anniversary of Abba's Greatest Hits, which comes in a nice little gatefold sleeve. The selling point for this reissue is the rather bizarre cartoon image of the band on the front cover. It covers their early pop period from 1972 to 1976, when they were an unstoppable bubblegum pop force. Next, it's the debut album by Yes from 1970. This is a 2003 remaster which adds some interesting bonus tracks. Their interpretation of Something's Coming from West Side Story is embarrassing though. Considering this was their debut album, the arrangements are extraordinary. Their 6 originals on this album are all worthy of reappraisal. Harold Land and Survival, both at 5 minutes plus, are precursors of the more pretentious 70s sound that they would develop. John Anderson's lyrics on Harold Land read like a Pete Townsend mini rock opera, and I love Tony Kaye's Hammond organ on this album, and also the guitar work of Peter Banks. Next up, it's Ready Teddy by Little Richard, that was put out by Snapper. I have a few of these complete rock and roll CDs on the Snapper label, and they all have really good sound quality. The liner notes betray the budget price nature of these releases, but you certainly can't argue with the music that's included. And Little Richard is really responsible for the foundations of rock for generations to come. And next we have Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention and One Size Fits All, and this was put out by Ryko Disc, and it was 20 pence from a charity shop. I'll just show you the details on the back. Yeah, I like Frank Zappa when he concentrates on the music and gets away from the foul-mouthed lyrics and feeble attempts at comedy. This was the last album that he recorded using the Mothers of Invention name. It shows off his instrumental prowess, and it's only marred occasionally by some irritating, dated vocals. Next up, an album that was a real revelation for me, and believe it or not, this was just 10 pence from a charity shop, and it's Honeycomb by Frank Black. That was put out by the Cooking Vinyl label, and I have one CD by Frank Black which I didn't like at all. It was real shoddy studio recordings and poor songwriting, which he wouldn't have used in the Pixies. But this is just a class act. It was produced by John Tiven and recorded by Penn in Nashville, and the cream of Nashville session musicians are involved. So, for example, you've got Steve Cropper on guitar, Spooner Oldham on keyboards, Reggie Young on guitar, and the idea of Frank Black doing Americana sounds bizarre, but it does really work well. Amongst the tracks that he interprets is Dan Penn and Chips Moman's Dark End of the Street, and the other cover version is by Doug Sarm, and the track Sunday Sunny Mill Valley Groovy Day. Next up, it's Barry Adamson and Moss Side Story, which was put out on the Mute label. Barry Adamson started out as the bassist in Howard Devoto's post-Buzzcocks band Magazine. He branches out here into a soundtrack for an imagined film. There's classy string arrangements and guest musicians galore popping up. So, for example, you get Gary Barnacle on saxophone, Diamanda Galas, Rowland S. Howard, and many more. It's a disjointed but interesting listen, and it's actually quite a collectible CD now. Next up, it's Air and the album Pocket Symphony on the Virgin label. This is Air's fourth album, and it came out in 2007, and it's saved from blandness by contributions from Jarvis, Cocker, and also Neil Hannon. The single from this album, Once Upon a Time, incorporates the Japanese instrument, the shamisen. It's classy, but like most of this album, it never really gets started and just meanders along. And next up, it's The Best of Uriah Heep Wizards. This came out on Universal. It's a double CD. And again, I got this one for 20 pence in a charity shop. As well as well-known tracks, it also includes some BBC sessions and some live tracks along the way. Mick Box's guitar remains the constant throughout, but the mid-70s album tracks with keyboardist and main songwriter Ken Hensley are the pick here. Now we've got Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell on Asylum, and I got this one for 20 pence as well, and this sounds absolutely stunning, I must say, on CD. It's beautifully produced early 70s California rock, and it finds Joni Mitchell's vocal tone at its absolute peak. Songs don't outstay their welcome, And apart from a cover of Twisted, it's a faultless performance of Mitchell originals, and Free Man in Paris and Raised on Robbery especially stay in the mind. And now it's a Gang of Four and Return the Gift. This is a double CD. It was put out on the V2 label in 2005, and I got this one for just 10 pence in a charity shop. And it's a reunion of the original four-piece lineup. Rather than doing a live CD of their reunion shows, they decided to go into the studio and re-record some of the tracks that the original band recorded. So opening track, To Hell With Poverty. I find the sound there very bombastic and not particularly appealing, but the rest of the tracks really work well and make you realise what a great four-piece they were. But the guitar, bass and drums are just fantastic, and they beat all the opposition into submission. Actually, I could do without the second CD, which, as you see, is remixes of these tracks. So you've got remixes by the likes of Ladytron, The Others, The Rakes and the Dandy Warhols, which really add nothing at all to the originals. And that's it for today, and I will be back again soon with another video, so look out for that. Take care, everyone.